think we're live right now.
I think we're live.
Woohoo! Sorry for being a little bit late. We said 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It's 10:04. Not too bad, though.
Yeah, this is our first time, so please be gracious
Bear
and
with
kind.
us.
And because I'm sorry. It's live, folks. If I'd have spilled it. Anyways, so this is it. So that's Ghost. He's not allowed in here. My dog. All right, let's start from the top.
All right.
That's you.
Welcome to the 32nd episode of the Broken Pictures podcast / YouTube show, where we discuss the top 3 things that you may have missed in pop culture this week.
There could potentially be spoilers for your favorite TV shows, movies, video games, and/or comics. You have been warned. And we are live from the Broken Picture studio somewhere in Centerton, Arkansas. This is the FOMO Show.
And this is usually where it's like, bow, bow. But as I said, we don't have everything set up just yet. This is like a soft opening.
Soft launch.
Soft launch. Ghost, a dog thinks he can come in here. But as you can see, we've got a new refurbished, I guess, studio.
Yeah,
a nice new
sure.
studio space.
Revamped.
Revamped. Yeah.
Woo!
Took me all weekend. So, yeah, there was hair everywhere. Like everything was covered in hair, and he's looking over that way trying to figure out who I'm talking to, and he's whimpering. So yeah, he can't come in here anymore, at least for a little bit until I get over how much hair I had to clean up.
And if that
Go lay
says
down.
anything about how much the dog sheds, it says even more about how little Dylan cleaned this garage very periodically.
I was busy, which is one thing why we're going live, because now I actually have time for stuff. All right, so by the way, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Lydia.
This is Quin.
And we'd like to say thanks for joining us by YouTube or podcast. If you're joining us by YouTube today and you're watching us live, super big thank you. Hello to all of our new watchers or listeners in the States and internationally, and a special thank you to those of you who keep coming back to this weird show. If you want to keep the conversation going or support the show, you can, of course, comment below, but you can also find that information in the episode notes or at the website at www.broken.pictures.com. Also, leave us voice messages or ask us questions that we can play on the show. Or now that we're live, you can throw those up on the little livey question thingy.
Lively question.
But if you want to leave us those voice messages, you would go to www.anchor.fm/the FOMO Show to talk to us and leave those messages. YouTube viewers, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon
Ding.
for notifications when we put out these new videos. Podcast listeners, please leave us 5 stars in your podcast app.
Yes.
Yep.
Because we're basically going to take the audio off this, rip it, and put it into the podcast. And I'll figure out how to do that more smoothly later and everything. So, yeah, this is
it.
This is fun. Thanks for going on this journey with us. I mean, as you know, Lydia and I started on our couch. So, I mean,
We started filming this show on our couch.
yeah.
And now we're live. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool that we've journeyed all the way here.
So, if you do have time or you want to, we're going to be on YouTube live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard
Yeah, exactly.
Central Time. So, yeah, if you can join us. We'd appreciate that. But if you can't, this video will live on YouTube, so you can watch it later. That's cool.
Now and forever.
Yeah, just let us know in the comments and that kind of stuff. But one of the benefits is that this video that we always film on Tuesday won't be hitting YouTube the weekend or the Monday.
Oh yeah, it's gonna go on the same day.
Because of all the editing and everything that I did to.
And then like something else always comes out like
Yeah.
as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's always new information because we post it so late.
Yeah, we should have checked this morning. Like we're figuring this
did.
out too. Okay, good deal.
There wasn't anything like major that I didn't think should trump what we've already got.
Cool. So, spoiler alert. We will get spoilery. I know you heard Quin say that there will be spoilers. You've been warned. But we're not going to spoil your favorite fandoms on purpose, but we're going to talk about some newsworthy stuff.
So we watched. Oh crap!
Yeah.
I had it in my head. We watched Spy Kids for.
Yeah, hold on. You gotta intro the thing. See, this is different for us because usually we kind of stop in between.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we got to intro the segment. So what are you guys into this week? Let us know in the comments, and we'll check it out if we have time, hopefully. But let us know if it's good, if it's a miss or don't miss. This is what we've been watching and reading and listening to and all that stuff.
We watched Spy Kids for pizza movie night this weekend, and I forgot how just golden it was. I mean, there are a lot of ones like you watch Fern Gully or something that's like from our childhood, and you watch it again, you're like, that's kind of deflating. But Spy Kids was everything I ever remembered it to be.
Yeah.
Because when it came out and when I first watched it, it was wacky and weird already. And it didn't take itself too serious. And so whenever we watched it again, I was like, yep, that still holds up. It's pretty good still. But other than that, I've only been watching The Office. I haven't really watched anything else.
What did we watch last week for Pizza Movie Night? Because we've been out for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
We rented a movie. Maeve got to pick the movie.
Oh yeah. What did she? Oh, I can't remember. Anyways, this is live, so I can't just like let it hang in the air there.
No, you really can't. Quinn, what have y'all been on?
Well, so last week we rented Long Shots, the movie with crap, I can't remember that lady's name, but Seth Rogen and the other lady.
Charlize Theron.
Oh
that
yeah,
lady.
yeah.
I've been wanting to watch that movie for a while, and yeah, I made the right choice. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
Was it? We
Yeah.
almost rented it, I think, a couple weeks ago, and then we decided to rent something else.
It's not a family movie, but yeah, it's
Right,
a great movie.
yeah, for sure.
And then we also saw, what is the name of that movie? Oh no. Oh, John Wick 3. How could I forget the name of that?
Yeah.
Parabellum. Shay wanted to watch that because she's more into John Wick than I am, apparently.
Really? Wow.
I didn't know that happened. She's like more excited about watching John Wick than I am, and I was like, I'm pretty stoked about watching John Wick.
Nice.
So,
That's always good when when that happens.
Is. Makes life a little easier.
Like she watched John Wick and she was like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We watched the first one. We haven't got to watch the rest of them yet to
I've
to
seen
catch
all
up.
of them, but she hasn't yet.
You haven't watched the third one?
I have too. I went to the theater. So
I thought you waited for me to see it. The other movie that we watched for Pizza Movie Night a couple weeks ago was The Secret Life of Pets 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
How
Which was
that?
pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Yep.
Cool.
I liked it.
Yep. Of course, I'm still playing The Witcher
I
until I die, probably.
finished just about. I still have to do like the finale, but I finished a campaign I've been working on for D&D, and I'm gonna make someone cry.
Probably
On
gonna be me
purpose.
because I'm OP.
You're what?
His
overpowered.
character's pretty broken. His stats are too high, and I said we'll see how it goes. I haven't decided to nerf him yet, but I'm gonna make him pay.
He's going. I convinced him to give me a shot since I'm new at this.
One shot. That's what he gets. All right.
So yeah, miss or don't miss. We keep forgetting to say
Don't miss John Wick 3, especially if you're a fan of
Agreed.
Keanu Reeves in general. But the John Wick
fight
story,
scenes.
do y'all know the John Wick story? Like all three movies is like the span of like 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that they're doing a prequel on
Are they?
I can't remember what channel it is. It's going to be a TV series. It's called The Continental. It's based on like how the hotel became the hotel.
Which I think will be pretty good because I liked Hotel Artemis. I thought that was kind of cool. So probably similar type.
Are they the same universe?
Yeah. Wow, yeah.
Are they the
That would
same
be
universe?
neat. Probably not.
No, that would be cool
Oh
though.
my goodness.
Hotel Artemis
It
was kind of
seems like
set
it
in
would
the
be,
future
right?
a little bit. Maybe it's the Continental after the apocalypse.
Headcanon. It's
Whoop,
done.
it's done now.
We
That's the
decided
thing.
it. Don't miss.
Oh, don't miss John Wick. Don't miss Long Shots. If you like Seth Rogen, it's a good Seth Rogen movie. But if you like movies that can be political but like a political comedy, that's basically what it was. It's pretty good. I like politics and I like comedies. And this
Was it kind
movie-
of similar to The Interview with James Franco and
Oh my gosh,
No,
that movie
it was
so
not.
funny.
That movie was like, so this one's like based in the realm of reality, like this could actually happen, but it's a political rom-com. That's what it was, and
Gotcha.
and the interview, which is like, we're gonna take everything, put it in an 11, and say yes. But yeah, by the way, don't miss either one of those movies.
I would say don't miss For Secret Life of Pets.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And obviously you have seen Spy Kids, so you don't have to.
Yeah, watch all 4 just for continuity's sake. Yeah, there's all 4.
What? Okay.
Dude,
Don't
you're
watch
missing it.
all 4.
just watch them once.
Okay.
The second one is pretty good, where they're on the island.
Debatable.
What? I like that one. Anyways, and then it gets weirder. It gets weirder, and it's not always good weird.
Okay.
But
Well.
anyways, I have
Interesting.
watched several things this past 2 weeks. Not this past week, because I haven't done anything but get ready to do this right here. But I cannot remember any of it right now. I was supposed to take notes, and I didn't, and I apologize.
Well, I guess you're getting skipped.
Yup.
All right. Well, that was it. But yeah, hey. All right.
Right.
So now it's time for the next part of our show, where we just briefly skim over what the number one movie of the week is, and I think it's been up there for a little bit. It Chapter 2. Because yeah, we weren't doing this last week. So yeah, It Chapter 2 is still number 1, and this horror movie. This movie.
He doesn't like horror movies. Usually there's a drum roll there, but
Yep. For the second week in a row,
going in dry.
What?
Sorry.
That's what she said.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So
I set him up, you knock him down.
It Chapter 2 for the second week has been number 1. The critic score for it is 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is 79%. I don't know. Have they dropped or raised any?
I don't know. I
don't know
didn't.
either.
I didn't even pay attention to it last week, to be honest. I had to
Okay.
go back and check.
I have a friend that watched it and said, because he hadn't seen hadn't seen the original It's, but saw
What?
this It because he just went with a friend to watch it, and the
You
friend had
didn't see
seen the
chapter
It's.
1?
Right. But he said there's this one scene that is just like what? Where you're so confused and it's so uncomfortable. And he was like, for that scene alone, he said, miss it. I was like, whoa, okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean.
I heard there's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The first one was really good. Like I watched the original It when I was a kid. It messed me up. I don't have a thing against clowns or anything like that. That didn't take
I
hold on me.
watched the original It when I was a kid. Equally messed me up because I didn't know what I was watching.
Yeah, it was so wonderfully weird. I was just like,
I watched it
all
like,
these
what,
things-
2 years ago?
yeah.
We lived
got it.
here when I watched the original, and I still haven't seen chapter 1.
Yeah, it's so good. The second one I hear is not as good. It's passable. It's finishes the story. It's good enough, but it's not the first one.
If you see the movie and you're not worried about spoilers or anything like that, I had heard that there's a scene where the guy who plays It, Skarsgård, does like this thing with his eyes, but Bill Hader didn't know that it was real. He thought it was like added in, and he went up and talked to Skarsgård and was like, "Hey man, how do they add in the CGI or those contacts or whatever?" And Skarsgård was like, "Oh, you mean this?" And he does it. And Bill Hader's like running away, and they got it on. It was so amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's funny.
And I hear also that Bill Hader was the standout of the entire movie.
Aw.
Like he rocked it.
That's wonderful.
I love Bill Hader, so
Yeah, he's really
I
good.
don't.
Do y'all
Doubt
know how
that.
he got that job? How he got
No.
that? Okay, so the kid who played his character when he was
Who was in Shazam?
Who was in Shazam?
Yeah, he was the kid with the
I thought he was one from Stranger Things.
handicap. Oh,
Yeah,
Finn
yeah.
Wolfhard. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
Finn
right. You're
Wolfhard.
right.
There we
The
go.
other kid was
Yeah.
from. Okay, I'm getting mixed up.
But Finn Wolfhard wanted Bill Hader to be his older self.
Oh.
So he was like, "Hey, get Bill Hader."
Oh.
And so,
Cool.
yeah, but this kid has a lot of power now. That's scary.
That's true.
He just said, "Make this happen," and they did.
Well, also, I'm sure Bill Hader was like, what?
He was like,
This
oh.
super famous kid wants me to be an older him.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Like, I love seeing comedians do dramatic roles and be successful at it. It's really cool.
I loved him in Trainwreck, so.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I'm about it. I'm
not
here
a
for Bill Hader.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Amy Schumer fan. I don't really watch her stuff.
Never
or anything.
have been.
But Trainwreck was so freaking good. I loved
That
it.
was pretty
I
funny.
haven't seen it yet. I'll have to watch
Yeah.
was
Oh
pretty
my
funny.
gosh, John Cena.
He
You know how
watched
long that
it
is?
and then was
Oh,
like, no, we have to watch it. And then he laughed again through the whole
my God.
movie.
I freaking love John Cena in that movie. Oh my gosh. And
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he's gonna be in Suicide Squad too.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my
It's going
gosh.
to be great.
Do we do this
Alright.
these days?
Yeah. Well. So yeah, if you're going to see a movie this week, we appreciate if you would go down in our little description area and click the link, and then you go from Fandango. It's not going to cost you anything extra, but it'll help us out. We'd appreciate that through our links there. Eventually, I'm going to have it on the website. Obviously, I've been doing other things, but eventually I'll have it on the website where you can go do stuff like that, I think. I'm trying to figure it out. I thought I had it figured out, and I didn't.
Oh.
I thought I had it figured out, and then I was like, tell everybody. Then I was like, wait a minute. This ain't what I thought it was.
Tell them, but let them know it quietly.
Yeah.
Tell them quietly.
Okay.
So, here we are at our coup de grace.
The top 3 things for the week in pop culture. That's not what the thing says, but that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So, who's first? It's going to be number 1, Hustlers.
So, if you didn't listen to me a couple weeks ago, when I said that Hustlers was going to be a don't miss, I threw that in a conversation. I was like, I think this is going to be a don't miss. You suck because you didn't listen to me. They're talking about, what's it called? Little Oscar nom whispers
Oscar
and
nods?
yeah, like thinking that J-Lo's gonna get some Oscar nominations for it, and if she does, which I think is really cool but funny and sad, there's so many emotions wrapped around this. It will be her first nomination for an Academy Award.
Wow.
She hasn't gotten anything from the
Everything she's
Academy.
been in?
She's gotten stuff from ALMA, and she won a Golden Globe. That's not the Academy.
It's not the Academy.
She won the Golden Globe for Selena and American Latino Media
Yeah.
Arts.
I'm going to see if the dog needs to go outside. He's whining pretty hard. So, go
He just
carry on.
missed us. So this will be her first nomination if she got a nomination, which would be kind of sad because she deserves so much more. Kind of exciting because obviously we want her to win awards because she's amazing. And at 50 years old,
She's
to
50?
portray a stripper,
Wait, what?
she's 50.
She's 50?
She was born in 1969. She
What
turned
fountain
50
of
this
youth?
year.
J-Lo is actually old enough to be my mother.
What's crazy is that when they were talking about the new Selena movie, I was like, no, she can still play Selena. Like, she can still do it. And they're like, no, she's 50. I was like, no, she can still do it.
No, Rosita got that.
No, I'm mad about it. We're not going to get into that. But, so if you don't know anything about Hustlers, it's a rated R movie that premiered this weekend on the 13th. It's an hour and 50 minutes, which is kind of long for, like, that type of movie.
Yeah. It's I've kind of thought like in the vein of like Showgirls or Magic Mike type thing, you know.
And that's sort of what it is, but this is based on the magazine article. This is based on something that
a true
actually
story, yeah.
happened, which is insane to me. I did not understand that, did not get that.
Yeah.
But it made...
not so much like Mastermind though.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they got caught and they're in prison now.
Or
So.
Pain and Gain. Oh, I love those movies.
But this movie made $33.2 million this weekend.
Oh.
And, like, that's a big debut, especially since it only cost $20 million to make. So it profited its first weekend, which is pretty big for a movie like this.
I'm sorry, I have to stop you. If you're watching, I apologize. I'm just going to let the dog in here because I feel like a bad guy. Because he's literally standing at the door whimpering at me, and I'm sure you guys can hear it. And I feel really bad. This isn't something I can edit out. Come on, Ghost. Come on.
Oh, my goodness.
See him over here. He's a happy boy.
Oh.
Okay, buddy. All right.
But I feel bad for the
Sorry.
Goldfinch that also opened up this weekend and lost money.
Yeah.
It took $40 million to make, and it only made $2.6 million this weekend.
Wow, that was one that was supposed to be like the awards one, and the trailers were kind of weird to be honest.
They're like
Couldn't
you
tell
would
what it
see
was
one
about.
trailer that would act like it was something, and then another trailer that made it seem like it was a different one. Who's the main guy in it? It's not Eggsy.
Mm-mm.
What was the guy that Ansel Eggert? He was in
Oh, he was.
crap.
Is that? Oh yeah, Baby Driver.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's who it is. Yeah, I was like, I know his face from somewhere.
Oh.
Didn't he do the new Footloose? Like the
I don't remember. I didn't
Anyway.
watch it.
So just to give you a little bit of comparison of how good
Not
this
Kevin
movie
Bacon.
did. You keep interrupting
I'm
me.
sorry.
Darnell. This movie did really good, which is really cool. It had 87% Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, but then 68% for audience reviews. But just to give you, again, a little bit of context, the tomato meter, which are people like, what is that, like professional, like actual
Well, yeah. They do a critic score,
critic.
and then they do an audience score.
Yeah, so the critics that saw it, there were only 203 critics. And so that's why its percentage is so much higher. It has 87% on tomato meter, but there were 5,453 audience reviews.
Wow.
That's a lot of reviews.
It's like the sleeper hit that nobody expected.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
out of that
'Cause-
many reviews, 68% is still pretty high.
Because hustlers be hustling.
I'm glad I was drinking water while you said that.
No spit take. Damn.
Nope, not at all. But if something that I was considering is like, if you had woken up on Saturday or Friday and you're like, I want to go see a movie this weekend. Let's go see a movie. Your choices were really limited.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of things that nobody had even heard about.
Outside of it too. I mean,
but I mean, it too had been out for 2
it's a
weeks
sequel.
already.
Yeah.
And so there was Hustlers, The Goldfinch, Can You Keep a Secret, Haven't, Freaks, The Sound of Silence, Fall Girl, Unbelievable, Monos, and The Harvesters.
Wow, a bunch of them I've never heard of.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So like, I think a lot of the hype was around like, oh crap, I want to see a movie, but I don't really have a lot of choices. So I'll go and I'll see this one. Oh my gosh, I love it. And then that's how this was an
happened,
upset.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it just happened. It's got Constance Wu, Jennifer Lopez, Julia Stiles, Matei Towley, which is a really big deal because in the movie, my understanding of it is that he plays a transgender stripper, which is a big deal these days, and so kind of addresses a lot of things that you wouldn't think this type of movie would address. So I mean, I'm okay that it wasn't upset. I mean, I think it sounds like a good movie. I said don't miss it a couple weeks ago. I think I'll probably try and see it. I don't know if we'll have time to go to the theater to
Isn't
see
Cardi
it.
B and
Yeah.
she
And
plays-
Lizzo,
and
okay.
Lizzo in these?
Cardi B plays a stripper named Diamond.
Which is accurate because she was a stripper.
She was. I forgot about
She
that.
straight up was a stripper. So I just love this movie because J-Lo basically invented pole dancing being cool. She basically coined it. Like nobody thought pole dancing was cool until J-Lo started doing it. And so I just love that this shows so much versatility and talent. Like that takes pure muscle,
For real.
pure
That is
talent.
actually
Yeah.
athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
very
Like that's
athletic.
super cool. And J-Lo's 50, so just gonna
Yeah.
keep throwing that out there a
Yeah,
little
I mean,
bit.
you're going to have a good time to see some stuff. Yeah. And then
We're
it turns
such
out to
boys.
actually be a good movie. It's like woohoo, win-win.
But
But
some of the
if I watch it and Drake's not on the front row throwing money, I'm not in.
I think that some of the reviews that I saw, the IMDb reviews that they have at the bottom there, it had 6.6 out of 10 stars, but the reviews that were at the top were the really, really crappy ones. So what's kind of cool is that they go in order, and so it's like 1-star reviews, 2-star reviews, 3-star reviews in order like that on IMDb, or at least they did on this. And they were saying like, it wasn't like a hype film where it was like, oh, girl power. It was like, girl revenge and every person on the planet besides us is terrible and stupid. And so I don't know how it's going to end up turning out, but I think it'll be one that you kind of want to see and just see and be like, I got this message out of it.
I think Magic Mike kind of paved the way for that, because it was another one that was like a dude stripper movie. It's like all the chicks are going to see that, but it actually turned out to be like a really good film, and they made a sequel. Where, they probably would have made a sequel anyway. I mean, they made 50 Shades of Grey sequels, but
based on books though.
Yeah, but I think it paved the way for like these types of films people actually taken kind of seriously, even though, because I think before that, like I know with Showgirls, when it came out, it was extremely divisive, because for one, it was like NC-17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't 17 yet, but I remember it being extremely divisive, and I remember being a teenage boy that wanted to see this. But I remember people saying, hey, this is legitimately a good movie. And everybody was like, it's Jessie from Saved by the Bell, and it's a stripper movie, so it's crap. Just based on that premise alone,
Which is really messed up.
Yeah.
Because, you have to remember, they're actors.
Yeah.
They're doing what they need to do to make money.
And
this is their career.
She quite literally put herself out there.
Well, she struggled with drug abuse when she was on Saved by the Bell. She was a lot older than she was portrayed on Saved by the Bell. Really.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Wow.
It was legit, because I saw a review. It was like the actor that I can't remember who was in that scene with her was talking to her, not her character.
I remember that being like that episode being like one of the realest ones too. So that was probably good catch. So yeah, that explains.
Kind of like
why.
the Will Smith episode where like he's actually upset about his dad not coming to see him, and it's. All of it's bathed in a little bit of reality, just like this movie, and which is based on a true story. And so whether you think that they're right or wrong is not the question. Just enjoy it, have a good time. And $33.2 million worth of people did. So if you don't care, don't go see it.
Yep. All right.
Are we?
That's all I got about that.
All right.
All right.
A hustler's got to do what a hustler's got to do.
My voice was a little bit.
But speaking of hustlers and people who know how to make money and know where to go to get it.
My God.
And now it's on to number 2, which is on to me. And I'm about to talk about J.J. Abrams and how he knows how to make deals to make franchises amazing.
Yeah, he's completely dethroned Trump as the deal maker.
We specifically said we were not going to get
He said he liked politics. He said it first. No, we're trying to get it.
Okay. But so over the past week, there's been a lot of rumors and everything going around, and then yesterday, I know for sure, because that's the majority everything that I've read, came from like stuff that came out yesterday. J.J. Abrams signed a deal with Warner Media for basically to put all of everything that is Bad Robot, which is his production company, under one roof, which has not happened ever. Now everything's under one roof. Everything's about to get amazing, potentially. But he turned down a deal. This was reported by a Hollywood Reporter from Apple that was a good chunk more than what Warner Media was giving him. It was $500 million. He turned down the Apple deal basically just because Apple wanted to put him on an exclusivity clause. Like they wanted him just for him and Apple TV. But J.J. Abrams was like, no, I like to go do other things if somebody wants to come do me. Like, let me do other things, because he had to deal with Paramount. He said I wasn't gonna re-up with Paramount, but while he was with Paramount, he was still doing other things like the Mission Impossibles. He went and did Force Awakens, and he did The Rise of Skywalker. And after his deal was up, everybody wanted him, but the only two that he was considering was Apple and Warner Media. But he chose Warner Media just because they said, yeah, you can come and do all of our stuff, but if anybody else wants you to show up, you can go ahead and go do whatever you need to do. Just
Really?
remember where your home is.
But the catch is that it's not J.J. Abrams that is capable of doing that. It's Bad Robot.
Yeah.
They have J.J. Abrams exclusively, but they can hire Bad Robots. Like other companies can hire Bad Robot.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was wondering because I heard that it was an exclusive thing.
Yeah.
It's him exclusive, but not Bad Robot.
Gotcha.
And-
Which is him and his wife's production company.
Right. But also a cool thing is like he's already been housed at Warner Media. Bad Robot has been working at Warner Media site for 13 years.
Yeah, they've done stuff with him.
He's comfortable there. Like that doesn't
Westworld.
really surprise me that he went with them over Apple TV.
Yeah, I mean, plus if you're getting exclusive with Apple TV, like they're just getting started. They're not. Like,
you don't know how successful it's going to be.
Yeah, and with Warner Media, it's Warner. I mean, Time Warner. It's AT&T. So AT&T owns Time Warner. Like they merged, and you're talking about like Warner Brothers, which is huge in itself, but you've also got DC, and that's where it gets juicy.
Yep. Because he's probably about to just build that universe and make it worth something. And it's not like he can't do it. He's done so much stuff and so many different franchises across the board that I don't think any of them just like failed, except at the end of Lost. But J.J. Abrams, like, they know that he knows how to build a franchise. And even Disney was like, hey, come start this new thing for us so we can make millions and billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of J.J. Abrams. Just from Lost, I remember Lost was like the first like online experience with a show. Like the what we're doing right now where we talk about the shows and all that kind of stuff, they started like a weekly podcast, a weekly thing after each episode. That whole after show thing, they invented that. Wow. Well, I don't know if they invented it, but they made it popular. They did it. Like the showrunners would do a show after the show every week and answer fan questions and mislead and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy awesome. It was fun. And I remember listening to at least 2 podcasts on a regular basis where it was just like speculation about what does this mean, and I saw this Easter egg and that thing, and it was so much fun, and I fell in love with it, and apparently the world did too, because that's everything now.
Yeah.
You know? Like YouTube's bread and butter. So yeah, if anybody could reboot or fix, not to step on anybody's toes, I know there are hardcore DC fans out there, DCEU fans. I'm a DC fan. I love DC. I love all those characters, but I'm not a big fan of the films for whatever reason. Not going to get into that. But Henry Cavill is supposed to not play Superman anymore.
So they're supposed
Affleck
to be...
is out. Ezra Miller might be out, might not be out. That one's up in the air. He's saying he's not out. And It Chapter 2, the director of that, said his next film is Flash. So it's,
okay.
You know.
We'll see. But so at some point in time this week, take this with a grain of salt. There's a whole bunch of rumors that J.J. Abrams is going to make some sort of announcement involving Henry Cavill and Superman. Whether that be that Henry Cavill's gone forever, or whether that be like, hey, I convinced this guy to come back to do an actual Man of Steel 2. That was weird.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was one of the issues that Henry Cavill had with Warner Brothers, who went through a lot of upheaval during the time. And there's a lot of behind the scenes reasons why the DCEU was inconsistent and this and that, and it wasn't doing well, because kind of like the same thing that happened with Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi. There was a movie, it was planned, had good actors, good director, the story was good, but then the studio just couldn't keep their mitts off of it, and let's do this. Fans want that, and it became a big thing. So it seems like the same thing has happened multiple times in the DCEU.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm excited about James Gunn doing the Suicide Squad, kind of soft rebooting that. And he's even not really calling it a reboot either. It's kind of, he's like, you'll see what it is when it is, because some of the characters are coming back and some are not, and some are
Suicide Squad. You can do this and see what comes out.
Yeah, but he's got enough pull to be like, let's not do that. That's not a good idea, you know. And then you get Ava DuVernay doing New Gods, who definitely has enough pull. Yeah. You've got the talent stepping up. And now with J.J. Abrams coming in saying,
let's just put these little things and connect these threads.
Mm-hmm. Like Star Trek, where he took an old franchise and spun a new one in the same universe.
Oh my God.
Like, that is the perfect skill set for the DCEU right now.
Yeah.
Has he ever come into a franchise that was, like, slightly established besides Star Trek? Like, that was an old version. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for... So rude. Thanks for letting me finish my thought, guys.
No, I was
Y'all know what I'm talking about. They don't know what I'm talking about.
I was trying to think of another one while you were talking. My bad. I had to get that one out because it was like...
You're like, Star Wars!
We're sorry.
The geek in me was
Lydia,
like,
you don't know anything. It's Star Wars! But, like, anything that was, like, they had started it and timelines didn't match up. Like, there are actors for this that could possibly not be coming back, and timelines that could mess up because they shot a lot of things in the foot with DCU going forward. Like, how is he gonna come back and make those loop? Like, has he ever done that before?
Not that I know of.
So, like, this is gonna be fairly new.
Yeah,
this is a new challenge for J.J. Abrams. I'm excited to see what happens.
He got it.
And
fully confident that he's got it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things that attracted him to it. It's like knowing this is a big playground, and he is already kind of like dabbling in the comic book realm. Him and his son are doing a Spider-Man run, run.
I forgot the name.
What does that mean?
So they're doing a comic storyline for that is Spider-Man. I forgot the name of the actual comic itself.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, but him and his son are doing it together, and
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's really good. He's a really good story writer, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to use Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So
he gets to have his fingers in a lot of pies still.
And a toe.
Oh yeah.
And a toe.
Yeah.
That took me for a second. I was like, what kind of name is that?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, Time Warner is like they've got. I think I read that was like video games, all like every content under the sun.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I had never heard Warner Media before. I never heard that in my whole life, and so I was like, "What? What company is he signing on with?"
Yeah.
That's like their
umbrella
LLC name or whatever.
Yeah.
Not LLC probably,
but Warner Media is still an LLC.
So Warner Media, like Warner Brothers Film, is where all the movies come from, and then they have so many different TV stations. Like CW is part of their TBS, TNT. There's so many different TV stations that's under that.
Yeah.
And then now soon to be HBO Max, and J.J. Abrams is going to be working on things for all of those.
Which is amazing because if you think about like the ability he has to keep people in line for things, and like maybe he's not necessarily running and like writing or actually producing the show, but just him being there on the same place that some people are working on, they're like, oh, I'm going to step up my game. Oh, I want to impress J.J. Abrams. Oh, I want this, you know?
And from what I understand, he's one of those people that people love to work with. Like, I've never heard...
He's so young.
Yeah, I've never heard... Well, he's older than I am. He's
when you picture J.J. Abrams, I think of this name that's been around for a really long time. I think he's like in his 60s, like George R.R. Martin or, you know, names like that. And I'm just like,
hustler.
Wow, he's been around for a long time, but he's not that old.
Yeah, he's definitely the next Spielberg, if not already established. He's the next J.J. Abrams. He is his own thing, you know what I mean?
So there was an episode of South Park where they were doing a thing about, it was, you know, like the NFL and like players taking a knee and everything, and all the NFL, like the team owners and other people, they went to like J.J. Abrams' house and had like a microphone. It was like, J.J. Abrams, will you please come back and help us fix the national anthem so no one will take a knee? And then it was like, just one light for yes, two lights for no. And he did one light. And then he came back and he fixed the national anthem. And so,
He's the ultimate problem solver.
so
That's what I love about his stuff is like, and that's like his stuff is what drew me into wanting to write, just because it's problem solving. It's going in and reverse engineering things and wrapping your head around it, and I love that aspect of it.
yes. But so, did I say how much the Warner Media deal was?
Oh,
I don't think I did.
There's not an official number, but
But they said it was around 250 million.
I heard 500.
No,
It's
that's the
lit-
one Apple TV was doing.
Apple TV is 500 million. He turned that down because he wanted to work with Warner Media.
Wow.
So the Warner Media deal was less, but it's more
Mm-hmm.
because he gets to do pretty much whatever he wants.
Because like I thought about it in the way of like he might not be making this flat rate, but he has way less or way more opportunity to make a lot more long-term money.
Yeah,
you know.
he is, and this dude is invested in legacy building.
And, yeah, exactly. And I straight up feel like once Apple TV paid him, they'd be like, "Oh, well, we don't have to pay you no more. Like, we done paid for you. We got you till you
Just wait
die
and see if
for
that
just
check
this
clears."
500 million." Yeah, exactly.
But the deal with Warner Media is only 5 years long, so we'll see what he can do in that 5-year span.
And you think about like that's gonna go by so quick.
It
He's
is.
not.
Yeah.
That's nothing
Yeah,
to him.
sometimes people work on a film for that long.
Yeah.
you know.
250 million for 5 years.
5 years, and then other
I
things if you
didn't
want.
like that. Like what? That's not a big deal. That's crazy.
I think that's about all I had on that. Yeah. So,
Check my
only
notes real
time will
quick.
tell. Unless
Oh.
y'all had something. What?
I had just one other thing about it is like even though he's signing on with this now, like it's pretty effective pretty quickly. His Bad Robot will still honor all of its Paramount obligations. It's like he's not just like stopping and hopping over here and not doing anything.
Yeah.
He still
Yeah.
is finishing out what he signed on with Paramount.
Yeah, and everybody else. I mean, he's still got an Apple TV show coming out too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not canceling anything that was scheduled, which is really cool because sometimes they're like, nope, change my mind. I'm not doing none of that. I'm backed out. I'm just doing this one thing. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that like he's still honoring it and he's still working on those things.
Just shows that good work ethic.
Yeah. He's definitely an inspiration.
So don't miss J.J. Abrams.
Oh, JJ.
Or anything. Okay. All right. That's it. All I got for that one. Y'all got anything else to add?
I'm just geeking out over him. I've got a man crush on him. Like seeing him on set for like Star Wars and stuff, where he's walking around with a bullhorn and everybody's just like his buddy, and he's like, "Oh, hey, great job," you know, and real personable and.
Assault. The producer,
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, touched me.
All right. Then I guess it's on to our final topic. Number 3. Fire and blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, I'm taking this topic, but I'm I'm gonna be upfront with you. I've had about 5 hours sleep in the past 48 hours, so bear with me.
I've literally one comment about it. 1 of 50 is I tried to read Fire and Blood last night, and I got to the first page and I fell asleep. It's so hard to read. It's like the first chapter of the Bible where it's like so and so begot so and so and so and so begot so and so, and that's all it is for the first chapter. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard to read.
Yeah. So if you don't know what she's talking about, Fire and Blood is George R.R. Martin's book on the Targaryens dynasty. Yeah, they're basically their family tree and their story. Excuse me.
Tight.
Okay. So obviously Game of Thrones was a huge success. I mean, no matter how you feel about the last couple seasons or whatever, it is undeniable that it did well. And
Says all of the merch ever sold.
yeah.
I ain't got one.
And yeah, so I
Sorry,
mean,
we didn't send you
it's got the
memo.
most Emmys won per show, the most Emmys won in a year. I mean, it's insane. It's critically and financially a success.
That show.
Yeah. So of course HBO wants more, right? I mean, why wouldn't they? But they're playing it smart. They're like, oh, we don't want to just rehash the same show in a different way. We don't want to do just a sequel like Arya's Sea Adventures or whatever, that kind of thing.
If that was the name of the title.
Yeah, I mean, we would totally watch that, but they don't want to do spinoffs with characters that have already been in that series because they want to leave that intact. Mm-hmm. They don't want to taint that. So they're being extremely careful. However, they also don't want to do just another show that is, like
about
I said,
the throne.
A rehash or just the same type of show in that world. It's like, oh, we're gonna recapture. No, they don't want to. They're not interested.
Which is
in
smart
doing that
because we don't care.
Yeah. So there were at least 5 scripts that they had commissioned for spinoffs or other prequels or whatever, right?
I just imagine they're like sitting there and there's these 5 things out there and then they mold them together like the Fluke guy and it's like one giant monster. Like that's what they wanted to do. But somebody in the room was like, no, they're separate.
It's typically what studios do. But.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's full on what I expected to happen.
Studios are getting smarter nowadays where if they are figuring out if they make something that's a good story, it will do well and it will bring notoriety to their studio and more money and more fans and all other things good. Instead of just pumping out, well,
Example A,
Michael
Hustlers.
Bay.
But yeah, okay.
So they've got. There was 5 commissioned. Last we heard, George R. R. Martin said 2 of them they've decided not to make, but 3 are progressing nicely. 1, they've already shot the pilot this summer. That's the one with Naomi Watts in the lead role. She's going to play a charismatic socialite hiding a dark secret. But this story is gonna cover basically the Age of Heroes, which is where the White Walkers first showed up, and Zora High and all the legend stuff that we looked back on from the first series, all that so it's leading up like the golden age of Westeros and to its downfall, leading up to the Long Night. And so and there's technically not a name for it yet. Like the shooting name was I just lost it. It was like Blood Moon or something like that.
So many confusing things.
Yeah, I mean, they do shooting names that way. It's not like, oh, we're gonna go be a part of it. They're shooting over here. We know what it is. So they do like a different name, so people are like, what is it?
But why would you do Blood Moon when whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe someone's a werewolf.
Maybe.
I'd be
Or a
down
witch.
for that. Yeah, let's do that. All right, Game of Thrones werewolves.
So George R. R. Martin has a blog, and he's pretty regular on it. And he's calling it the Long Night, and he even was like, HBO says I'm not supposed to call it the Long Night. The Long Night, but it's a long night.
Oh my
So
God.
he wants it to be called the Long Night.
But the other one.
Well, I'm getting into this one too. So there's this one, the Long Night. The other one. Anyways, is basically, it's not completely greenlit yet, but there's people on the know, on the inside, and that kind of thing are saying that it's basically a done deal. And this one is going to be Fire. It's based off Fire and Blood, so it's like the story of the Targaryens and their rise from the doom of Valyria, like how they escaped. Because basically they were in old Valyria, they were basically nobodies. They weren't.
They were second to last on the totem pole.
Yeah.
There was one below them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like the first page of the book laid that out.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the way they escaped is like a cousin had a dream or something like that, and they were like, oh, okay, well, let's get out of here.
She ended up being called the Dreamer.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so they went and they settled on Dragonstone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they became like a house, an official house.
Go ahead. I can hold my hand up for a minute.
So then, of course, you get Aegon the Conqueror.
Well, so they go to Dragonstone, and everybody's like, y'all stupid for going over there. And then, like, 12 weeks later, the rest of all of them die.
Mm-hmm.
They all burn to death.
Yeah.
And it falls. And so they're like,
Yeah, and they still don't really know what caused the Doom of Valyria yet. But
uh-huh.
Okay, can I do mine now? Okay. So, all right. With this one, I feel like it's gonna be where Game of Thrones was like low fantasy and dark. This one will probably be dark, but stupid high fantasy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm really down for that.
Yeah, and they're like the Long Night one. There's no Targaryens. This is before the Targaryens came to Westeros. There's the First Men, so it's basically Starks, and there's not even like the Casterlys are still at Casterly Rock.
Oh, so
like there's no
they're still a
Lannisters.
thing.
This is way back when. This is like thousands of years.
Wow.
Fire and Blood, the book, on the cover, it says 300 years before Game of Thrones, dragons ruled Westeros.
Yeah,
So
and
it's on the cover.
So there's a couple big instances in the Targaryen line. Like, of course, you got Aegon the Conqueror. You've got the Civil War, the Dance of Dragons, that basically almost tore the Targaryens apart. They were feuding and fighting over the kingdoms, and then you've got, of course, the Black Fires came out of that. You know, the bastard sons and this and that, and the rise so it's rumored that is going to the Civil War is going to be the main focus. However, there's some speculation that it could also be an anthology.
Because that's how the books were published.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the book, Fire and Blood, is a 2-part book, but it's a compilation of short stories. And George R. R. Martin, before finishing part 2, released a lot of part 1's stories as anthologies. There's The Princess and the Queen, The Rogue Prince, The Sons of Dragon, and Conquest. He released all as anthologies that are their own stories.
Okay.
So I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because you've got the Targaryens over thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes sense, like every season take another age of the Targaryens, right?
It's time lapse, it's new characters, it keeps it fresh. I think that would be the smart thing to do.
And even though, like, I mean, there's a couple articles I saw as I was researching saying, oh, like they were going to make a show about his worst book, even though it was on the New York Times bestseller like twice, you know, and it left
It's
and
like
came
you're
back.
comparing something that is not comparable, because it's like his best book made millions and billions of dollars, but then his worst book made millions of dollars.
It's like, how's your best book?
Yeah, exactly. Your worst book is sitting at your house, okay? Then nobody buys, so I don't know why you like, oh, his worst book.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like a really good premise. Whether the book worked for you or not, or it's hard to read, in theory, the show could be something completely different.
Yeah.
Or it just take on a new life, you know.
And the first little section of the book, it explains that like they do their timeline. Like the Maesters are trying to compile stories and things and keep records, but it's so spread out and so non-specific that they have before the conquest and after the conquest, because there's no real definition of when it started or anything like that. It signifies that like the conquest was complete was when he got crowned and anointed specifically in Westeros, and so that's how they define it. And so the books, volume 1 covers Aegon the Conqueror all the way to Aegon the Third, Dragonbane, and so part 2 is the rest of it.
Wow.
And so they've got a lot of source material to work with, whether you didn't like the book or not. There's so much there to work with that I think it would turn out to be a good show.
Yeah, and I know HBO, like even with the Game of Thrones series, they were pushing, and even George R.R. Martin was pushing for 10 seasons.
Yeah.
But D&D were like, oh, I can't do this. We gotta go do Star Wars.
Let me come do it. I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for
Let George R. R. Martin do
they
it.
should have handed it. I mean, they had several great directors that recurred and
Let the Duffer
and
Brothers do it.
Duffer Brothers, no, thank you.
They're amazing. They can do anything they want to in the world.
Stranger Things. The Duffer Brothers.
Nobody said that they only have one style.
Okay. Anyways, like the director that did the big battles throughout in each season, each later season, like he could have taken over. Like, I mean, there were all the way from that to the Duffer Brothers, there are plenty eligible people who would have jumped at the opportunity to take over Game of Thrones, to even for the next 2 or 3 seasons to finish it out, or 5 seasons or whatever. And they just didn't want to let it go or whatever.
They wanted it to be theirs and only theirs. It's like, this is
Yeah,
ours.
that was their throne. They were playing Cersei with the throne.
Aw, they were mad directors.
They just kind of forgot that.
But with Fire and Blood being an anthology, one thing that I don't care what they do in the show, I'll watch it. But like the last season or 2, they should be connected, and they should be about the Mad King. Like that should be the end of it, and it like goes right into it, and it's like, all right, here we are.
Cool.
And then like it ends with
that would lend a lot of backstory to where Daenerys is coming from and her turn at the end
and burning everything. Yeah.
Yeah, where she just clicks and.
So yeah, I feel like if they do it in an anthology, that would be the best way to end it. Because I mean, in like season 7, season 6, we saw like flashes of like him going, burn the babies.
Yeah, burn them all.
Yeah, and everything. But I was like, I would like to see a whole hour of that, please. Just cause.
Yeah, and there's so much.
I mean,
there's so much source
I can
material they
handle
could
an
go
hour
for
of him
several.
saying it, but not an hour of me watching people burn. That'd be a little bit too much.
Yeah, that'd be kind of grim.
Quinn's like, I'm here for it.
That's basically
It's
what,
green
like,
fire, people.
Whatever episode
fake
that
fire,
was of
grow
season
up.
8. That was like it was 10 minutes of them
you're right, that's
marching,
true.
and then
Yeah.
the rest of the episode
And then
of
Jamie
Daenerys
jumps
just
in the
going,
water that's infinitely deep.
Yeah. So yeah.
Or yeah, Bran knocks him in. But anyway, Bran. Anyway, Bran. Bran. So
like, when did Bran
so
knock
there's
anybody in?
so much source material that they could literally go for like as many seasons as they want, and they could even go back and revisit things if they wanted to, because that would be cool. Like say you do season 1 here, and then you go 5 seasons doing different things, but maybe people were fans like, oh, season 1, season 2, that was the best season. So you go back and you revisit for a season, and it's a revival season, and then you go on and do something else. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or you do like Marvel is doing, and you do what ifs.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want to do.
You go back and play in between what's already come, like with Black Widow, where they're going back in time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Hey, George R.R. Martin, this is directly to you. Real quick, you should convince them to let the doom of Valeria be some sort of plot by one of the Targaryens that was actually mad. Like the first mad Targaryen.
Boom.
And like that's why Valeria was destroyed, because she saw the dream and then it was like, oh, they're all going to burn. I know why they're going to burn, because I did it. Yeah, do that. Please? Thank you.
It was actually her plot. It was like
We
her
better
idea.
leave because I left a whole bunch of fire under there. So we better move.
Who's laughing now?
Take our dragons and get out of here.
Yeah.
Or it's like a secret plot where not only did she dream that they were going to demise and a bad guy was going to do it, but she also knew that years and years and years and later, Daenerys would go back to Dragonstone and find all of the dragon glass, and that's how she would defeat him. And it's this huge secret subplot.
Ooh.
Bum, bum.
The
Cool.
dreamer dreamed 1,000 years later.
Yeah.
I mean,
She's basically
That's how
Childlike.
prophecy works. You don't know
Yeah.
when it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I
she's
mean-
basically the childlike empress. She sees everything, and
I mean, the three-eyed raven could see all throughout time, past, future, and present. So why not? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, why not make it the never-ending story thrown in there?
mhm.
I got what you were doing.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I think it's going to be something to don't miss.
Yeah.
Whether you felt good about how Game of Thrones ended, I think it'll be worth a watch.
Yeah, they're so the Long Night series we won't get at least until 2020, so next year, because they said that they're gonna give a year to breathe from the last episode of Game of Thrones.
I mean, so did season 7 and season 8. So
Yeah, for real.
I mean, it took a year just to breathe
Yeah.
on that, so they might as well.
Yeah, and then they tripped out the gate.
Anyway, keep going.
So, yeah, I think that was all I had. I'm excited to see what they could do and what ideas they've got, especially the way they're trying to handle this and be smart about it and take their time and not rush into things.
Do we know any of the directors working on it, or is it some of the directors that worked on Game of Thrones? There were 19 directors. Like,
I'm sure some of them come back for it. I know that Benioff and Weiss did stay on.
they're fired.
No, they
Dang
they
it.
stayed on as executive producers.
Stupid.
Which is probably just in name only because they've got whatever. They didn't want to be involved in anything else. I think they just got burnt out, to be honest with you.
it happens.
But you don't have to kill anything when you burn out.
they
Um,
all do.
but the guy who the guy who directed and now his watch is ended, Alex Graves. I would have to say he did some of my favorite episodes. He did The Lion and the Rose, Breaker of Chains, The Mountain and the Viper, and The Children, which were some of I loved The Mountain and the Viper episode. I mean, I didn't like how it ended, obviously, but I thought it was done well. Like, the way it was shot and the way it told the story propelled it in a good way. So I'd love to see him on it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
directing some episodes here and there. And
it would be good. Oh,
And I know I'm trying to think of just different details that have come out about the new spinoffs. George R. Martin calls them successor series because he doesn't
Aw.
like the term spinoff.
I like that now. That's what I'm gonna say from
Yeah.
everything. Cool.
successor series.
Yeah, how Game of Thrones of him. So one of the things that was a critique of Game of Thrones is that it was all mostly white people, and then you got a couple characters like Missandei, who
Got her head cut off.
got her head cut off. You know, who was
Grey Worm who got his cut off.
Yeah, well, before we met him. So yeah, now they're equal. They both got their heads cut off.
Okay.
No, he didn't. No, apparently he didn't, though. It was just the other thing.
Anyway, bring it back here.
Not the stem, just the berries.
I
Sorry.
said bring it back here, and you kept going.
Sorry. I had to clarify.
They knew what you were talking about. No one was
I'm
confused.
sorry, I'm falling down the rabbit hole. Somebody help me.
I'm trying, Alice. I'm trying.
So that was one of the critiques about the show, is that it was predominantly white people, and yeah, I mean, you could say what you want about it being a European version of fantasy or whatever. I mean, literally Westeros is Europe upside down on the map. Did you know that? Yeah.
Quin's mind is blown right now. He literally was like, "I need a map, so." Yeah, he got it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's pretty smart. It took people a while to figure it out. By a while, I mean like 2. How long has it been? No, I'm just kidding.
Today I learned.
I was today years old.
Yeah. So the Long Night, it is far enough back in time that it's not just going to cover Westeros. It's also going to go back to Valyria, and even though, of course, in Fire and Blood, Fire and Blood isn't its official name. It doesn't have an official name. They haven't even announced what I'm calling the Long Night its official name either, because I think they're trying to like keep things
them
down. Because I mean, like, Game of Thrones still just got a bunch of Emmy nominations for its last season, so it's still, relevant right now. So they're kind of like not wanting to steal the thunder from the original series right now. So this isn't the official name, but it's old enough, and they're going to explore other parts than just Westeros, and so there are all kinds of different other tribes and places to go in the world, and so there's going to be a lot more diversity. And if you look at the cast that's already been cast, there's a lot more diversity in the cast already.
It's not so much that there weren't characters in the show that were diverse characters. They weren't main characters. They weren't the people that we visited. They were with the people that we visited. Because you think about the Sand Snakes, they're pretty diverse, and like there were a couple thrown in there, but they weren't main characters. I think that's like the issue that I have with it.
Yeah. Plus, in the books, there was apparently a really good storyline with the Sand Snakes and Dorne that just was not even touched upon in the show.
A lot of stuff that wasn't touched upon in the books.
And there were a lot of things that weren't necessarily like accurate to the books, and like Daenerys' eye color and like all of these different things I hope that they'll get a little bit closer to the books.
They actually tried to wear the purple contacts, and they irritated her eyes so much. And so,
well, dang, I guess you better get a different actress.
Wow.
I don't understand why they didn't just CG her eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
With all
you got a
everything they were
dragon in
doing.
there. A dragon.
They were just like, no, we like it this way.
That's too much money. I can't afford that.
I mean, like
every episode I'm supposed to turn her eyes purple. I know what you want from me.
Well, I'm sure they'd have it figured out by then.
At that point, it's just a button. It's like
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
because
really?
I know with the later X-Men movies with Mystique, not the Jennifer Lawrence ones, but Rebecca Romijn Stamos, or not Stamos anymore, Rebecca Romijn. I think I'm saying that right. But anyways, I want to say, like, after the first X-Men, she came back and she was a bigger character. Well, those big yellow contacts that she was having to wear irritated her eyes, and so she asked if they could CG it, and they did. Like, from there on out, it was all CG, and I doubt Jennifer Lawrence was wearing big yellow contacts because she didn't even
want to wear makeup.
She didn't want the correct shade of blue on her in the last movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they get a little bit closer to that, though, like book accuracy.
I mean, at this point, if it's in the same universe, would that be redoing it? I mean, would that mess with...
they could spin it super hard. They could spin it like, for whatever reason, it came off of like her mom's bloodline, like it didn't inherit over because John, obviously his eyes weren't purple and his hair's not white.
Right.
So they could just spin it like just because of who her mother was or whatever.
Or they could straight up be like, oh, well, when she was a baby, we didn't want her to be recognized easily as a Targaryen, so we hit her in the face and her eyes changed color. I don't know.
Or there was a spell.
We poured acid on her eyes.
Yeah, or they had a red lady, or one of the red priests come. It's like,
there you go.
Well, she's cursed. Her eyes ain't supposed to be like that.
We have to hide our last two children, and they just turn their eyes like green.
Yeah,
there you go.
There's so many things that they could do.
Yeah,
so I hope that they don't use that as an excuse, because in my opinion, that's just an excuse to not take it back around. Like, oh well, it might do a disservice to the original Game of Thrones. It's like, no,
I'd be fine.
Work it out. What's in that movie? Thank You for Smoking, where he's like, look, no, we could just drop a line in there where he's like, well, you can smoke in space.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that blow up in an oxygenated environment? It's like, well, you just say, well, thank God we invented that.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I did forget this until you just said that, but originally in the pilot episode that they shot, it was a different Daenerys, and for whatever reason they swapped out because her
eyebrows weren't animated enough.
Wow.
Amelia Clark's eyebrows look like their own person. They're amazing.
I wish I could do that.
I wish they would just have a show and those are caterpillars on a kid's show, but it's just her eyebrows actually doing all of the acting.
And it's a puppet, but it's just like painted over her. And she's like on the ground like,
Yep.
She would do it.
Please.
She would. It's so
Yes.
awesome.
Oh my god. And then she breaks Karen. She's like,
I'm sorry.
She starts crying.
oh. Yep. I want royalties.
Yeah, I didn't know what we wanted until now.
Yeah. Blue's Clues going down. Emma's
Hungry caterpillar. Amelia Clark.
Amelia's eyebrows.
Yeah, I'm about it.
And the caterpillar's called Millie.
Like a millipede? I don't know. Did you know millipedes trot instead of walk? Have y'all seen that video?
No.
Oh
What?
my gosh, it's the cutest thing ever. It's a shadow of like a millipede like walking across the ground, and the millipede's moving like normal, but the shadow is coming perfectly. The shadow is like trot, 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 trot. And it is just the cutest thing ever. And now I'm not upset at millipedes anymore.
Yeah, after they bite you and whatnot.
Shh, shh. One
Sorry,
thing
don't
at a
ruin
time.
this for me.
I just got over this, okay?
All right, so I don't have anything else for that. And you guys have anything else? I want to talk about it. I can't think of anything.
Wait, no, I have it. It's Valerian Steel. I would like for them to explain why it doesn't exist anymore and all that stuff.
Well, I know part of the creation process was forgotten, and there was, I know in the Game of Thrones timeline there was only like, I want to say like 2 forgers or blacksmiths who even knew how to reforge it, which was why it was such a big deal when he reforged ice and everything. So
one in King's Landing, the other in Winterfell. Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
That would be like,
Interesting.
that's a whole episode in and of itself right there. It's just like Valerian Steel. I got you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it basically could be like a Discovery Channel for the Targaryens.
It's Jeff Goldblum, and he doesn't know that it's all made up.
Okay.
I would pay money to see it. I would subscribe to only that channel if I had to.
The Jeff Goldblum channel. He's literally sitting on a stool going.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Anything else?
That's it. That's all
That's
I have.
it. All right. Any last thoughts? Nope. All right. So once again, thanks for joining us by YouTube or podcast. If you want to keep the conversation going or support the show, you can, of course, comment below, or now that we're live in the feed. Where I lost my place. This would normally be an edit. So if you want to keep. All right, so you can also find that you can find that information in the episode notes or at the website at
www.birkin.picturesno.com. And don't forget that you can leave us voice messages or questions that we can play on the show. Go to www.anchor.fm/the FOMO Show to leave those messages. YouTube viewers, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon for new notifications of new videos. Podcast listeners, please leave us 5 stars in your podcast app. I'm Lydia. Anybody? I threw y'all off.
Thank you
first.
for going on our descent into madness. I'm Dylan.
I can't even do my thing. This is Uncle Shifty.
Oh my gosh.
Thank y'all for watching.
How long before you go shut it
We'll
off?
see you
That way
next
we
time.
just sit here.
Peace.
Bye.